And welcome into the Wednesday edition of Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Wednesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's a big day, Joe Rexrode. The day is the Robbie and Rexrode Fantasy Football Draft. The first time you and I will be in competition together in a fantasy football league. And Michelle is in charge of the whole thing.
And claims that she's going to win the league, by the way.
Predicts.
I don't know if claims is even the right word. It was
guaranteed.
It was borderline guarantee.
Yeah, pretty much guaranteed you're going to win the league. So.
It's okay. I can predict the future, so
Wow.
just letting you all know.
Maybe we shouldn't draft. Just leave it alone.
Tell me who I should draft.
I don't think she's going to do that. I think she's just going to leave you to swim upstream by yourself.
That's the knowledge I keep to myself, Joe.
That's right.
I'll be honest. As long as I beat Brennan this year, I'm fine. Like all the listeners, they can beat me into submission. If I'm 11th out of 12 and Brennan is 12th, I'm happy.
That's what Robbie said, too.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm pulling hard for Brennan against you. I think it'd make great show content.
I'm sure you are.
Robbie said, as long as Brennan beats Joe and I beat Brennan, I'm good.
Yeah. If he beats you and me, there's nothing I could say.
Right.
So I just have to leave it alone at that point. But if he beats you and I beat both of you, then I'm fine.
Then you'd be happy. Yeah. But maybe we should all have higher hopes and all
maybe so.
Plan to win the league. By the way, so have we decided? I mean, it's not a money league.
No.
But there's a prize for the winner? Is that something
we
can
need
make
to come
happen?
up? Well, we can try to come up with a prize. Regardless, there needs to be a trophy constructed of some sort.
Right.
Now, it doesn't have to be like an actual trophy, but there's, these college football, college basketball games out there. They play for something.
Yeah.
We've got to play for something.
Like
here.
the Cy-Hawk Trophy.
Exactly.
is up for grabs for first top 10 meeting between Iowa and Iowa State, by the way.
That's correct.
So that's a good idea. Maybe some kind of like a trophy that looks like
a Rexrode
spine.
Yes. A Rexrode bobblehead. That's the trophy.
Or that, too.
Well, I enjoy the spine Skiatica trophy. Yeah,
the
that'd
spine,
be good stuff.
That looks like a riddled spine or something. Is that your team name?
It is. Skiatica.
Very nice. Do you have a team name?
65 Toss Power Trap.
There you go.
Okay.
That's a little Hank Stram on us. Yeah.
65 toss. I don't know the reference.
It's Hank Stram.
That's Hank Stram.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. A Hank Stram reference. NFL film.
Matriculate the ball down the field, as he would say.
Yeah. Very nice.
Just got to matriculate the ball down the field.
I got to come up with a team name, so if anybody wants to throw some ideas at me. I mean, I'm Fred O'Banion in the Titans Media League, which I won last year, by the way. Have I mentioned that I'm the champion of the Titans League?
I don't think we've heard that.
Trying to undercut me. But I can't do Fred O'Banion for both, right?
No, you got to be a little bit more original.
Although, I mean, Ben Affleck flunked. His character, Fred O'Banion, flunked so that he could paddle 8th graders another year.
That
so
is
I
true.
guess you could use the name. By the way, this is a movie that we have or haven't seen.
I've seen.
What's the movie?
Dazed and Confused.
Yes.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Can't say I have.
Okay. All right. So we're building a master list of like you can't continue in your life until you watch these movies right here. That's one of them for sure. So, like your life will be better the moment you see that movie.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I don't know if you can't continue with your life without.
Well, then you need to watch it about 20 more times.
Okay.
And then
Okay, Joe. So I guess I'll leave the show right now. Go watch it.
Yeah, Michelle, we'll see you later.
I'm not saying that, but like within like the year. But there'll be like your list will still be way shorter than.
About to say you're in much better shape than Ryan Porth.
Yeah. So you got that going for you.
The term "lost cause" comes to mind when I think of Ryan Porth.
Yeah.
It's just too late at this point.
Yeah. And his Reds lost 2 or 3 to the Tigers too. So
really?
It's all going.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, I talked a little bit the other day, but so anyway, I need team name. Anybody wants to throw that at me?
Also, there's one listener who hasn't signed up. So if you're listening,
Who is it?
Just get it done by the draft.
yes,
That's fine.
What's the name? We can call him out on the air.
I don't know the name because everybody's name on the fantasy list now is their creative names.
Oh, okay. So there's just
We'll
like
figure
an
it out.
empty spot. Yeah. All right. So
And
if you
you're-
haven't done it, do it. If they don't do it, does that mean we need to put a last-minute replacement in the league?
They just have to do
Just
it
do it by the time the
before
draft
the
comes
draft
around.
is
Yeah.
tonight.
It'd be fine.
Right.
I'm sure they'll do it. There's been heavy interest in the fantasy football league here, so they know how important this spot is.
You would think. You would hope.
Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Josh texting in. Michelle can't guarantee a win because I'm going to beat all y'all. Underdogs Josh from Ashland City, who is in the league. Joe's team should be average Joe's because he's just average.
Oh, okay.
I like the Average Joes. Love that movie.
It's pretty good.
There's a movie called Average Joe.
No, it's a dodgeball. Their team name is the Average Joes.
Average Joe's Gyms.
Yeah, right. I got you. Yeah, the Ocho. That's a great movie. Made me bleed my own blood.
That I've seen. Michelle, you know that?
Oh, yeah.
The big guy?
Michelle.
Right, yeah.
As a matter of fact, this movie is starting to become very fitting. There's two potential names right there.
There you go. Yeah, those are pretty good.
Good luck to all involved, or at least most people involved, in the Robbie and Rex Road Fantasy Football League tonight. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So obviously it's an ESPN draft, so we'll be drafting with our laptops.
Correct.
But we're going to be together. So do we need someone to be like a commissioner to announce the picks?
I've got you guys covered.
It's a lot of reading.
Well, I know you're the commissioner, but you are also drafting the draft. Like, you're going to announce everyone's pick, like go up to the podium. That would probably take too long.
That would take a long time.
Never mind.
Well, I think everybody
We'd be
can
there
see
until the
it.
show start the next morning.
Yeah.
Everybody can see it, though, on their laptops.
Yeah,
No,
it'll
I
be
know.
So.
Yeah, it's fine.
I just can't wait to see Rex Road on auto draft as the draft begins tonight. It's going to be good stuff.
Well, if Dalvin Cook has a better year than Derrick Henry, then it'll be fine. PPR.
It is PPR.
PPR helps.
Yeah.
But
He still runs for a lot of yards. A lot of touchdowns in the PPR league, too. Good old Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, I know. Yeah. Oh, I know.
We're going to have a conversation about that a little bit later in the show. Is Derrick Henry worth the first overall pick? Matter of fact, we can talk about it now if you want to. What do you think? Is Derrick Henry in a PPR league worth the first overall pick? Because I've been a part of some leagues this year who have taken Derrick Henry as the first overall pick.
I don't think it's a terrible pick. I understand. It seems like every league I've seen, McCaffrey has gone
A lot
first,
of McCaffreys.
which I get because he will catch a lot of passes. In PPR leagues, most leagues are PPR now. I mean, my first league that I was in for a long time was like it was a straight up touchdown league. Like you only got 3 points for a touchdown pass. So it was very low. You got like points for like getting to 100 and then every 50 after that and stuff. You know what I mean? So like it was touchdown league. In that league, Derrick Henry would easily be the first pick. I still think he could be absolutely worth the first pick because I think he's going to score a lot of touchdowns. And if you look at this offense, if it's as good as you think it might be, well, that might increase the opportunities for Derrick Henry around the goal line to score. He's going to hit some home runs. He's still going to catch some screens and get a little bit of PPR. So I don't think it's a terrible pick. I also get why a McCaffrey. It seems like McCaffrey, Cook have kind of been a lot of top twos. Not as much Kamara, although I think Kamara, you can make a case for him too. Whether they're good or not, he's going to have big numbers and catch a lot of passes too.
Yes.
But I don't think it's a terrible pick at all. And you like durability. If you're worried about that, Cook has had serious injuries. McCaffrey just missed most of last year. I mean, Saquon Barkley's had serious injuries. There's a guy who some people think could be real high too.
Yep.
I mean, Derrick Henry's durability his record of durability is better than all those guys.
It is, and I think you feel good about his durability. Now, as good as you can feel in the NFL, all it takes is one hit, and that changes pretty quickly. But to your point, Christian McCaffrey, he played in 3 games last year. Derrick Henry, he plays all the games pretty much. He's missed 1 game with the Titans. And honestly, if that was a game that meant something, he probably could have played in that game.
Right.
So
Yep.
durability is a big check on the side of Derrick Henry.
I mean, the past doesn't guarantee the future.
It does not.
But, yeah, at this point, I think that's got to be a factor. And that was one of the things why I was going to take him number 2 in the Titans Media League draft that I got screwed on. So
the craziest thing I've seen in fantasy football drafts this year, and I can talk about this one because it was not a league I was in. It was a league my brother was in. The second quarterback taken outside of Patrick Mahomes this year in one league was Aaron Rodgers. Or, excuse me, was Justin Herbert. Aaron Rodgers was taken as the 7th quarterback.
Really?
The 7th one.
Wow.
I said, all right, have fun with that.
That's interesting. Because I feel like I think anybody who takes a quarterback, like to me, I'm a big fan of really good quarterbacks who get big numbers who are on not very good teams.
Yep.
And that's the thing with Aaron Rodgers. I guess you could make the case, well, like he's not gonna have to throw up. But I mean, they're supposed to be good too, right? They're supposed to be balanced.
Aaron Rodgers was the number 1 fantasy football player last year.
Yeah, right. Sure. No, I mean
he's going to get a lot of points.
Yeah, he's gonna, and they can run the ball, but he still has numbers. Yeah. 7th, huh?
7th quarterback. It was something.
That's a sweet deal for whoever got him 7th. Because I think in our league, I think it was like
it was
Mahomes.
My brother that got him 7th. He was like,
right?
"Oh, really? It's gonna
cool.
Let him go down like the 9th round, huh? Okay, cool. I'll take that."
I think for us it was like Mahomes and Rodgers. I think that's probably going to be right 1, 2.
I think that's pretty standard.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens tonight in the Robbie and Rex Road Fantasy Football League. Maybe he falls even further than that.
Who knows?
I'm so hyped.
I mean, the thing is, like, I don't really know these people. So we could have some wacky stuff. Like I had a kid one time in my old draft who came in, and he just had never played fantasy football, and his first pick was the Bears defense. And I was like, Matt,
oh boy.
His name was Matt. Matt, buddy, welcome to the league.
This could be a long year for you.
$60 entry fee. Thank you.
That's right. Hey,
pay up front.
I'm sure the Bears defense was really good that year.
I mean, they were good. Solid.
First pick in the draft, huh? Let's go to our text line.
His first pick. It may not have been the number, but it was his
Either
first
way.
pick. Oh, yeah. No, everybody's like, okay.
Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Tim from Lewisburg texting in. My first time playing Fantasy Football League. Looking forward to being last. I am team auto pick my nose. Very good. Looking forward to it, Tim. Auto pick my nose.
All right, Tim. Well, kickers are also very important.
Yes. Take a kicker very high.
And we don't have individual defensive players, but if you want to try to like write in like your favorite defensive player, write in Vic Beasley, you're free to do that. We'll let you draft him.
We're off and running today here on Robbie and Rex Road. Talking Titans, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. When we come back, we'll compare this Titans team to the one that lined up last year and won the division. Which team is better? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Do you want to win a pair of tickets to see Stanford versus Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt Stadium on Saturday, September the 18th? Well, if you do, head on over to YouTube and subscribe to the 1025 The Game YouTube page, and you'll enter to win your way into the game. One winner will be chosen on Monday, September the 13th. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road, here on ESPN 1025 The Game, brought to you by Volunteer State Bank, conveniently serving Middle Tennessee with 13 locations. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Ty and Jay texting in during the break. Very sad that they did not know about the Fantasy Football League. But never fear. There's always next year. This is the start of what, Joe, I hope is going to be a beautiful annual tradition in the Robbie and Rex Road Fantasy Football League. So, in the future, there will be more opportunities to join our Fantasy Football League.
Yeah, I mean, we did make it known we were having the league.
For 2 weeks straight. We did.
Yes. So, just be ready next year. And, you know, a lot of people tried to get in, and it's hard.
It's competitive.
It's competitive. Yeah, that's right. So, and you look, after this year, I mean, if you pay attention to our league, after seeing the absolute waste I lay to everyone else in the league, you may not want to participate. It may not sound fun to you, but I would still invite you to give it a try. Okay.
Can't wait till Rex Road goes 1-12. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to it. So the Titans in action coming up on Sunday against Arizona. That right now they are 3-point favorites against the Cardinals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So we talked about it yesterday being at home. Sometimes that can mean 3 points. Essentially a pick'em game for the Titans against the Arizona Cardinals coming up on Sunday. And you've thrown an interesting question out there, Joe Rexroad, and that is, if the Titans team that we know right now as they head into week 1 of this season, if they lined up today against last year's version of the Tennessee Titans, who would win? Now, I think a lot of Titans fans say, well, of course it would be this team. They're better on defense. They've got more weapons offensively. Of course it would be this team. They did go 11-5 last year. They did win the division. And by the way, I took a look at the over-under on FanDuel yesterday for the Titans win total. It's at 9. 9 wins. They finished with 11 last year in 16 games.
Right. They have
the over-under is at 9 this year with 17 games. That was a little surprising to me that it was that low.
That seems like a gimme, but whenever something like that happens with Vegas, you always wonder, what does Vegas know that we don't know? But also they sometimes have ridiculous lines.
They do.
That are to be taken advantage of. Yeah, I think that you're right. A lot of people would say, what kind of a question is that? But last year's team offensively had, and I guess you could also say, okay, now are we talking about with Lewan, without Lewan? I'd say like the best version of last year's team.
Yep.
They had an awfully good thing going on the offensive side of the ball, including, they had a right tackle who was experienced. They had they had some certainty there at right tackle. You're talking about Derrick Henry in one of the great running back seasons of all time, which you can't count on that happening every year. I mean, you count on him being good this year, really good, maybe lead the league again, but one of the great running back seasons of all time. And you had Arthur Smith running that offense, and it was special. So that offense against this defense, and this is the problem with the question too, is that like Sunday we start to find out what this team is, but we're doing hypotheticals before things get going. I think it's closer than some. I think it might be closer than some would believe, but I would also say, because the question is today. Now, a month from now, the offense kind of works together over time and builds chemistry. Maybe it's a different story. And maybe the defense is as improved as they want to believe they are, but I'm very much withholding judgment on that too. I would say the defense, you got to like their chances, even with like Shane Bowen being the D coordinator this year versus what they did last year. Better.
Sure. I think also, though, when most fans would hear this question, they would say, well, the Titans' offense is going to be better this year than it was a year ago. They've got Julio Jones. that bar is going to be pretty high. I mean, they scored 30.7 points per game last year. And look, I think if the offense is not at least on par, Titans fans are going to be upset by what they see, and I think they should be upset by what they see. But 30.7 points per game is a pretty high number, even in today's NFL when scoring is up and the game is more catered to the offense. So as we start the season, I'm not convinced to start the season that the Titans offense is going to be firing on all cylinders and to the level of 30.7 points per game like we saw a year ago.
Right. Now, again, remember the opener last year. It wasn't firing on all cylinders.
It was not.
In the opener last year. And then
couldn't make a kick in that game either. But, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And then, Jacksonville was week 2, right?
That is correct.
So that's your medicine to get everything all, okay, now you're feeling good, and then you rolled from there.
Yes.
But, yeah, so you subtract Jonnu Smith, Corey Davis, Dennis Kelly. You add Kendall Lamb, Julio Jones, Josh Reynolds, and actually, your receiving core.
Quite a few receivers.
Your receiving core, like depth-wise, it's considerably better. But the right tackle thing, I think that's something you have to look at and wonder. At least there are multiple candidates there, but there's no certainty there. And look, Jonnu Smith, I mean it's long over now, but I still think that's a loss that could be felt. And if he goes on to do big things in New England, that's something you could look back at. But you kind of so you're not like right there. You're not adding anyone really. You're adding role for Anthony Ferkser. You're also potentially adding Darrington Evans this year, but at this point, can't count. You don't know when he's back. He's on IR at least 3 weeks here.
Well, and the other part that's interesting when you compare, especially the start of last season to the start of this season. And look, we're basing this for this season off of information that we don't yet have, but information that we think we know. I mean, you began the season last year against the Denver Broncos team that at the time there was a lot of injuries and they just weren't very good. Jacksonville was awful. That was the second game of the year. And then a Minnesota team that was not very good at that time and didn't make the playoffs. It's a little bit different story this year. You're starting against Arizona and then Seattle and then Indianapolis. 3 teams that we feel like or at least playoff caliber teams to begin the season. So, there's a little bit more of I guess an urgency to begin this season, just given what the schedule is too. Now, we didn't know that Minnesota and Denver last year were going to be awful like they ended up being, and Minnesota got better as the season went on, and they got some players back in there. But the start of the schedule, at least from the appearance of it this year, of what we think we know about these teams, a little bit more difficult for the Titans.
It is, and there's a psychological thing with teams too, both ways I think, in terms of you get on a little bit of a roll early and you build that momentum, or you struggle early and you have a hard time digging out of a hole. And at a Titans practice this camp, someone was talking about a Titans team that happened to. One of those McNair era teams was way worse than it should have been. Was it 0-2?
0-1. And
the 0-1 team.
I think they started – well, they finished 7-9 that year. But there was one team that made the playoffs that started 1-4. And I can't remember if that was 0-2 or 0-3 when that was.
Well, I think it's the 0-1 team that I'm talking about, which I think they started 0-2. Is that right? Yeah. And essentially, like there are people in that building now who still believe that may have been their best team.
Yeah.
Certainly it was a contender level team, right? But it started out in a hole, and man, you have some rough, close losses early in the season. I mean, that can damage the whole thing. So, and certainly that's not the first team that's happened to, if that's actually what happened. I mean, people who are around that team said like that. It's just like the early start, just so many things psychologically fell apart with that team. and they just never really dug out of the hole. I mean, there's no way that was a 7-9 quality team. It happens in this league.
Yeah, it does, and that's what you got to be careful of here if you're the Titans. Like, I think there's got to be a sense of urgency coming out of the gate, and we'll see whether or not the Titans can have that, especially given the fact that they've not practiced a ton together with their starting group that we're going to see. So we'll continue this discussion. Got more of your thoughts to get to on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com when we come back. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. And speaking of week one in the NFL, it's here. The fridge is stocked, the recliner's ready, and now all you need to do is log on to FanDuel Sportsbook and claim your risk-free bet. That's right, FanDuel is giving all customers a risk-free bet just in time for week one of the NFL season, and there are lots of intriguing games that are out there and that are available. You've got Cleveland and Kansas City this week, the season beginning tomorrow with Tampa Bay and Dallas. Obviously, the Titans and the Cardinals coming up on Sunday. Many different options out there for you. The money line, the over-under, prop bets, same-game parlays, everything on the table at the FanDuel Sportsbook. And that's one of the many reasons I love betting with FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook. It's easy to use, and they get you your money quickly in as little as 24 hours. So use FanDuel Sportsbook on any week one game, bet the money line or take the over, throw some action on a prop bet or build a same-game parlay bet. There are just so many ways to play, and you can do that if you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook by signing up today with promo code ROB to also receive a risk-free bet up to $1,000. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5. The Game, presented by Volunteer State Bank, now with 2 locations in Murfreesboro. Visit our brand new Murfreesboro location at 2019 Memorial Boulevard. Volunteer State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. We're going to have Clark Lee, Vanderbilt head coach, join us to begin the 7 o'clock hour. We'll look back at the loss for Vanderbilt against ETSU and look ahead to Colorado State as well, with Clark Lee coming up at 7 o'clock. So looking forward to that conversation with the Vanderbilt head coach. Right now, talking Titans, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. And, Joe, I mentioned in the last segment the over-under win total for the Titans at 9 on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Dan from Clarksville texting in, is the over-under not indicative of the strength of schedule being tougher for the Titans? And there is certainly a difficult schedule this year for the Titans. We mentioned the first 3 games, Arizona, Seattle, and Indianapolis. Buffalo on the schedule, Kansas City, obviously Indy twice, the LA Rams, the Saints, the Niners, the Patriots, the Steelers, the Dolphins. Lots of tough games, interesting games for the Titans on this schedule this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you automatically you get the first place schedule when you win your division, so that means you play, in the AFC you play the other first place teams. And then this so happens to be the year that the AFC South gets the NFC West, which is no picnic. I mean, the team coming in here is, I think, probably picked 4th by everyone in the NFC West. That's a playoff caliber team.
Yeah.
I mean, Arizona's a good team. I don't know if they're better than good. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but they just so happen to be in a ridiculous division. So, yeah, that's a great point. I guess when you add a game and you still go through the Titans' own division and those 6 games that they have, I mean, you got, I don't want to say 4 gimmies, but you're pretty close to 4 gimmies. And plus the other team right now is probably had one of the most problematic preseasons of any team in the NFL. So I guess I don't think 9's ridiculous, but I guess I would have expected maybe more like 9.5, 10.
Yeah. Well, look, you've got 8 games on the schedule against playoff teams from a year ago. And then you throw in a team like Miami, who was right on the doorstep last year, a team like San Francisco, who did not make the playoffs last year but was absolutely ravaged by injuries, and I expect them to be good once again.
Yeah, real good.
Patriots didn't make the playoffs last year, but, I mean, their defense is back closer to what we saw a couple years ago. So you've got 11 or 12 what should be really tough games. Now, it's the NFL. The Titans last year absolutely destroyed the Buffalo Bills, who ended up going to the AFC title game, and they lost to the Bengals. So there's going to be something that happens throughout this season that you don't see coming either way. And that happens with every team throughout the course of the schedule. But on the surface, before we've learned anything about these teams stepping foot on the field, it's a pretty difficult Titan schedule.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to get someone this year, and hey, could be your team, Titans fans.
He's going to have 2 shots at it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's going to be some unexpected losses, but I think, like if the Chiefs came in here and took an L, would that be the most shocking thing in the world? No. I mean, I picked them to go 12-5, so I'm already on the record for picking them to go 12-5. So.
Yep. So you're taking the over.
I'm taking the over.
I think I might be taking the over too. We'll get to more of that coming up a little later in the week from my point of view. So as we look at this, Rex Road, and we start to kind of dissect and look ahead and forecast what this team could be, as we stand here today, a few days before the opening game of the regular season, which area of this team do you feel like is the most improved for the Titans as they head into the 2021 NFL season?
The funny thing is, if you went just position group, I mean, receivers got to be on the list, right?
I would say so.
You go from A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Adam Humphries. It's one of those things where, like, when Humphries was healthy, actually, he was a nice player, but Khalif Raymond, Cam Batson. Now you're going to Julio Jones in place of Davis. Yeah, this is an upgrade. And then, Rodgers, Johnson, Reynolds, I mean, that's a significant improvement. But the other two areas that I would look at, I think there's only three that you could look at, right? And that would be also corner, and then I guess, are we counting an area or a position group? Because I mean, pass rush / outside linebacker. I mean, if you can count Autry in it, and then you throw in Dupree, I think that could end up being the answer. But I also think that's just hard to say until we watch Bud Dupree play. I mean, corner, you think about last year, how much Jonathan Joseph had to play. Chris Jackson as a rookie, Christian Fulton as a rookie, and he was hurt a lot. Adoree Jackson didn't play. I mean, I think it's, Fulton, second year versus last year, pretty big difference. Jenkins versus Butler, I think it's an upgrade. As much as I like Malcolm Butler, I just think there's a speed upgrade there that you really need. And now you bring in Molden, and then, Farley is trying to push into the group. So what I'm telling you is I really don't have an answer for you. I'm just going to keep talking about stuff, and you tell me.
Well, wide receiver, I don't think there's any question.
There's got to be wide receiver?
An upgrade. I mean, look at the depth of that room. I mean, Julio Jones by himself, to me, is an upgrade at wide receiver as you look at. But, I mean, just the depth that they bring to the table now, I mean, it's clearly better than it was a year ago. And, look, I don't know necessarily that Ryan Tannehill's numbers are going to look better than they did last year. I mean, he threw for 33 touchdowns and like 6 picks last year. So he played pretty well. I think it was 7 picks. So Tannehill was largely excellent last year for the Titans. Is he going to do that again? He should, given the weapons that he has around him. But I don't know that for sure, but I'm pretty confident this receiving room is better. I'm confident that the pass rush is better for no other reason, and I know we've not seen it yet, but really for no other reason than there's nowhere to go but up. And we talked about that in the offseason. Like, this pass rush is going to be better this year. There's, to me, no way that it's not. I mean, I can't fathom a season again where they have 19 sacks.
Right.
Or less than 19 sacks. Like, that, to me, is not even in the realm of possibility with this team this year. Like, you might luck your way into 19 sacks this year.
Yeah. No, I mean they'll be in the 30s at least. Which still,
I hope so.
Yeah, which still that's nothing.
It's not good.
Special. It could be much better than that. But yeah, you're right. There's no way that won't be improved. And then it also goes to how much when you talk about like the secondary, the corners, how much of their struggles last year can be traced to quarterbacks not being affected. But again, Jonathan Joseph was ready to retire.
Yeah.
And he was playing. So
I agree that the tools are there to be better. I need to see it on the field. Like, you still got Christian Fulton, who we just don't know that much about yet at the NFL level in regular season games against starter quality competition. Elijah Molden, we've not seen play an actual NFL game yet. Caleb Farley, we've not seen play an NFL game yet. I mean, there's so many, I think, question marks that I feel good about on the surface heading into the season that you have to wait and see what actually happens on the field. And as we've talked about, you're going to get a crash course pretty early with the first couple of games and the receiving cores that those two teams bring to the table.
So where are they worse? Where are they the worst compared to last year?
Well, the right tackle spot to me is concerning. It is. And, I'm not saying that I'm overly worried about it because I think Sombrilo and Quesenberry did an admirable job last year coming in. I don't know a ton about Kendall Lamb other than what I saw when they came in here with the Browns that played against the Titans. So we'll see on that front.
He didn't have any problems that day.
He did not have any problems.
He didn't have problems scoring touchdowns that day.
He looked pretty good that day. But that spot is concerning to me from the standpoint of, like, I feel in a best-case scenario, all three of the guys that I just mentioned are better served as backup right tackles rather than starting right tackles, and they don't really have that starting caliber right tackle. Like, Jack Conklin's not walking through that door. And that, to me, if I'm a defense, and I heard you talking about this yesterday with Darren Donick and Chase, like, as you look at that line of scrimmage, I think you feel pretty good about every other spot other than right tackle right now, and I'm trying to expose that if I'm a defensive coordinator. So, I like Dennis Kelly. I think he did a good job here. I think they're worse at right tackle right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the good news is, and it's still all of us just guessing until we see him play, but that's really the only thing that jumps out. When they initially made the moves at corner, I was like, boy, you may be going backward at that position after a terrible year.
Right.
Because I still think Adoree Jackson is a good player. We didn't see much of that last year. He was hurt all year, and then, he didn't play especially well when he came back. But I had my doubts about that. But I think Molden, Jenkins, and I do think, you're right. We'll see with Fulton. But I certainly think just from the daily view of camp and even how he played in the preseason games, I think that's a different player than a year ago. So that's a good thing, is that there's only that one spot. I guess you could look at kicker too and say, okay, well, Sam Ficken had a good camp and that's great, but Stephen Gostkowski is a great kicker.
Well,
all time.
I would say they're definitely worse at tight end. I don't think there's any
Yeah.
question about that. I mean, you've lost Jonnu Smith. I like Anthony Ferkser. I'm not yet convinced that Anthony Ferkser is a tight end number one in this league. So I don't think, as I look at that room, I think they're definitely worse at tight end.
I mean, you took out an absolute freak.
Yeah.
Who, we'll see. I like the Patriots betting on him. We'll see. I mean, Hunter Henry too. They're tight end heavy up there.
They are.
But that's true. So tight end, right tackle, and then possibly kicker. And then, where might you regress with players coming back? Well, who knows? Will Tannehill be as good? Will Derrick Henry be as good? Will Brett Kern be as good?
Best player in the league.
That could be. That's a high bar.
It is.
Is he still the best player in the league? But, then you think about improvement with guys who, like, I think Rashaan Evans can be better. Kevin Byard can be better. And those guys probably will be if some of the things we think are better are.
We'll continue the discussion on the Titans when we come back. The Titans moving some money around yesterday, restructuring Julio Jones' contract. What does it mean? And how are they going to use that money? We'll get into that coming up next. This is Robbie and Rexroad here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, presented by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Going to have Clark Lee, Vanderbilt football coach, join us here in about 10 minutes to begin the 7 o'clock hour. So looking forward to that conversation coming up with him. Right now, talking Titans, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Ty texting in. Do we pick up a tackle with the money that they freed up with Julio's contract being reworked to a bonus? And we talked about it yesterday. The Titans restructuring Julio Jones's deal, creating about $11.2 million in cap space, according to Field Yates, when that report came out yesterday. What does that mean, Joe Rexroad? Is this something that the Titans are kind of looking down the road with the cap space in mind, or could this be something that they try to use right now as the season kicks off here in just a couple of days and maybe add to their group they have on the field right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know, because when the Julio Jones stuff started at first, I'm like, oh, come on. There's zero chance they're going after Julio Jones, and we know how that turned out. There are a couple, older offensive tackles who have been good in the league who are out there. Mitchell Schwartz is out there. Russell Okung is out there. Rick Wagner is out there. You know Rick Wagner.
I do.
I mean, would you be jumping all over bringing Rick Wagner in here right now?
No.
Yeah,
No,
I
we're
just
not.
like Mitchell Schwartz. Lots of injuries. 32 years old. I just don't know that there's anybody out there that jumps out at you that certainly it's going to come right in and boom, you're just better at right tackle than you were. Remember, you mentioned it earlier. I mean, Tyson Brilo, I thought he was okay, and then Quessenberry. I mean, that's your number 3 left tackle. I mean, if you want to compare those guys to the film of Taylor Lewan, no,
Sure.
that's a big step down. But I think either of those guys, based on how they played at left tackle last year, could be okay at right tackle. As good as Dennis Kelly when he was at his best, they'd have to prove that to me. And I'm with you on Kendall Lamb. I don't know. He's largely been a backup in his career. I just don't know that there's anybody right now that you bring in and you're just like, boom, plug him in, plug and play. We are flat out. Let's go. I mean, there's something to be said for being with a team and being in a system too. And all these guys have been. So I suspect that this basically means now they can roll over some cap space, and there's a lot of value in that in this league next year. Gives them a little more flexibility now if anything comes up. I'm not reading it like let's restructure this because we need to go get this guy. I mean, who else? I mean, look at other positions. Who's out there right now? I mean, Cam, Richard Sherman.
Go get Cam Newton.
I just don't. I mean, Olivier Vernon was a pretty good player with the Browns, but I don't see anyone out there like, oh, it's got to be for this guy. Now, when Robinson signs that guy, then we'll know who it is. But I really don't think that's it.
Is Kenny Vaccaro still out there? I don't know that I've seen Kenny Vaccaro go anywhere.
I think you're right. I think he is out there. I mean, they've brought in every other safety in the world.
Yeah.
And by the way, they've now cut all those guys too. So basically, because McDougal went yesterday. So now they're basically like they're at 4 safeties at this point.
The reason I bring that up, Ramal texting in on the text line, which is taking a shot at Dutch, which we deserve. Ramal texted in on September the 1st. It said, got to go get Michael Pruitt since he just got cut.
Uh-huh.
And we just kind of said, think that ship has sailed. And all of a sudden, the Titans, I think later that day, went and got Michael Pruitt.
Was it that day?
It was either that day or the next day. They went and got Michael Pruitt and brought him into the practice squad.
I was like, come on, no way. Hey, I will say that, I mean, all along I was like, why? What's wrong with Michael Pruitt? Why don't they want him back? The fact that they passed him up, I assumed they were just moving on. But, yeah, good call. They brought him back.
But I bring that up because, we know that Amani Hooker is the starting safety alongside Kevin Byard. But has Kenny Vaccaro fallen off that much to where he couldn't come in and help you right now based on some of the other players that you brought in? Obviously, they went back and got Michael Pruitt after it looked like they were not going to have Michael Pruitt. Kenny Vaccaro's still out there. You know, he's 30 years old, so I recognize when you get to 30, you know, things start to change pretty quickly in this league. And maybe it's the case where you wait through week 1 and see what happens if you're Kenny Vaccaro and whether or not somebody picks you up at that point. But, like, with all the names the Titans have brought in at the safety position, I don't think it's that much to ask right now, Kenny Vaccaro, to be like, yeah, you're not going to be the starter anymore, but, yeah, you're going to come in and you'll play a lot. Right.
Sometimes, you know, teams try to avoid the starter who loses the job. You know, is that I don't know if it's like a problem in the locker room, but, you know, you kind of move on from a person. But I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, it was only 2 years ago that he was really good. If you think about that playoff run,
yeah,
he was awfully good in that. And, I mean, I didn't think Kenny Vaccaro was, like, especially bad last year or anything like that. Again, like the whole secondary looked bad a lot.
Yeah.
But no, that's not a terrible idea. It's a guy who knows obviously what they're doing on defense, could come right in. I mean, right now Dane Cruikshank is the fourth safety. So after all those injuries, he's gotten himself to be on the field, and that's certainly good for the Titans special teams. But if you had to go there, if you had to go past Byard and Hooker, would you feel better about a Cruikshank out there, Matthias Farley out there, or
give me Kenny Vaccaro?
Kenny Vaccaro. So maybe that's what this is.
It's interesting that he's not been signed yet. Like we talked about with Gostkowski, like you try to get through training camp and you don't have to guarantee his contract. And, I mean, at this point, Gostkowski's not coming in unless Sam Ficken just falls apart as they start to move forward here.
Gostkowski just shows up on Sunday morning.
Well, it could be. Maybe so.
Takes a mask off, and there he is.
Here I am.
Yeah.
Ready to kick.
One thing I did hear from inside the building during the offseason about Vaccaro is, like, they thought that his speed definitely took a downturn last year.
But it's also like if you bring him in now, it's a different role, though.
Exactly.
Like right. He's not the starter.
I mean, I think, you know, I guess another argument against it is like a Cruikshank as your 4, he is going to help you on special teams.
Yes.
So if you bring in Vaccaro, probably not. So is that, like, what's the value? Is that enough value? But I'm with you. I mean, I think Vaccaro was a leader, you know, back there with Byard. Seemed like they had a great relationship, and that you could do a lot worse in a pinch if someone gets hurt than him. So it is weird. Even if he lost speed at a relatively significant level, that at 30 years old with what he's done in this league, that no one would have taken a flyer on him at this point. Maybe he's being really selective.
Maybe
too.
so.
I mean, we don't know what kind of conversations have gone on with him, and if it's people are throwing out like $1 million play for $1 million this year, and you're a safety in this league, and you've been smashing people for this long, I could understand that too.
Sure.
Like, give me something a little bit better than that.
But maybe reach the point where maybe you're not going to get something better than that.
Right.
We'll have to wait and see what happens on the Kenny Vaccaro front. When we come back, we will switch gears. We'll be joined by Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee, looking back at the loss of ETSU and looking ahead to Colorado State as well. All that next. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, hour number 2 of Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, presented by Volunteer State Bank. Real people, real solutions right here. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexroad, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Wednesday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And we are pleased to go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee. Clark, what's going on, man? How we doing?
Doing great. Just Wednesday morning here. Midweek prep, and excited for a good day.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. And Clark, obviously things didn't go the way you planned against ETSU, and now that you've had some time to digest it, what do you think led to the performance that we saw, and what's your message to the team in terms of moving past that game and improving as you look ahead to Colorado State here?
I think it's a situation where, we have to learn how to win. We have to learn how to take our preparation and apply the details in our performance to stare down adversity in the middle of the game, and rather than withdraw from that, we have to take the fight to the opponent, and it just felt like I was reminded of how far we have to go in this journey, how early in on it we are, but also after reviewing the film and having a chance to meet with the guys on Monday, feel like there's so many little things that we can do to help improve our performance, to give us access to success this season. And, it's a tough lesson, but it's important learning for our program. And I think ultimately an important moment for everyone here to understand, that we have to find another level, and it's not just going to happen because we're working harder than we did in the past. We're not entitled to an outcome. We have to go out and earn it on Saturdays, and we weren't able to do that. And hats off to ETSU. They executed their game plan. They got us in a position where in the second half of that game, our margin for error was so small, they limited our possessions on offense, and once they were able to get a lead, they were able to hold on to the ball. And that's a formula we hope to deploy ourselves so we can learn from it in that sense too. It doesn't matter where your talent is. It's about performance. And every Saturday we have a chance to outperform our opponent, and that's where our focus needs to be.
So, Clark, with a group like this, especially obviously the kids who you inherited who didn't have any success last year, had a tough 2019 for those who were there that season. Do you worry about, being able to keep morale up after a performance like that? And what have you seen in terms of response around the building since Saturday?
Well, worry about it is maybe not the way I'd phrase it. I mean, it's something that I'm giving attention to. This is it's a bit of a traumatized group, and I think specifically the expectation was that that we were going to win on Saturday. I think the problem was there was an expectation that East Tennessee State was going to cooperate in that effort, and that we have to understand that it's never going to be easy. It's always going to be hard, and it's always going to be through adversity for us. And so, I felt like there was a moment in the second quarter when they scored a touchdown where it's 7-3, where you sensed kind of like this fear of the end result steal our spirit and enthusiasm, and that's the point at which we have to be making eye contact on the sideline, and we have to go and take what we want and have a deep-seated belief in the fact that we're going to win and it's going to happen, and that's the confidence we have to speak to each other. And so, we had a chance to meet and debrief on Monday. I had some meetings on Sunday. I really want these guys to feel supported. This is why I came here. This is exactly why I came back to Vanderbilt, is for this moment. And I want them to feel supported, and yet I want them to understand that we're not going to allow self-pity to define this program. This is about setting our jaws, learning from what our mistakes were, learning from the things that we can take, how we grow to another level within the program, and moving on and moving forward. And I thought yesterday's practice was at times what it needed to be, and at other times I felt like we were not pushing deeper into our the commitment to our values, just that idea that we're going to take this further than we did the week before, and find another level. And I communicated that when it was needed. But this is about every day is about evolution. It's every day about moving forward, about getting this program where it needs to be, and we'll get there. So it's not something we worry about, but it's something we give our attention to, and we will, we'll have a great chance on Saturday to measure up again and hopefully be a little bit further along than we were a week ago.
Vanderbilt head coach Clark Lee on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So, Clark, with that in mind, as you look ahead to Colorado State here, what's your message to Ken Seals and Mike Wright in this offense in terms of the points of emphasis trying to execute better come Saturday night when you take on Colorado State?
We can't self-sabotage drives. We have to know the protection. We had a drive kind of stall out. We were 2nd and 3 on the 29-yard line moving the ball, and we let a single pressure off the edge go unblocked to the quarterback, and that set up a 3rd down and long with a quarterback that had a little bit of a banged-up shoulder after the play. And it just, those are the things we can't do, the pre-snap penalties, and then at the quarterback position, just better decision-making pre-snap for where we're going to go with the ball. I mean, there's a formula we use to determine whether the ball's handed off or thrown on the perimeter, look, these guys are very capable. So, some of that is first game nerves, some of that is first game in a new system, and quite honestly, some of that needs to be coached better. I mean, this isn't just a player issue. We're a new staff, and so that was our first time in the fire together. And I think coming out of it, there's accountability in all areas, and there is no quick fix. We don't all of a sudden become just a different team than we were on Saturday. We have to pinpoint these areas be it the competitive mindset in the moment of adversity, be it the way we read the box and determine where to go with the ball, be it the way we run routes. Let's stack our go routes and give our quarterback a little more room to throw the ball. And at the quarterback position, let's put a ball in the air that we give our receivers, our big, tall, physical receivers, a chance to catch. Those are things that we're focusing on in practice that will allow for us to unlock a higher level performance. Some of that is just accountability and ownership. Know the protection. Be clear in our communication. This isn't complicated stuff. This is fundamental stuff. Some of it is just taking the attention needed in practice to really own the pass offs up front and to make sure our protection, make sure we're giving a solid cup to the quarterback so he can throw the ball confidently. Some of it's a little more nuanced and fundamental technique, but it's all things that we can improve on. And so that's where we are with it, and we'll stay there. And that won't change until the end of the season. That's how we unlock an explosive offense that can put points on the board. And we just happen to not be where we needed to be on Saturday for the result we wanted.
You mentioned yesterday, Clark, that you're going to do the same thing at quarterback. So Ken Seals starting at Colorado State, Mike Wright will play in the game as well. As you evaluate their play, but also the situation, if you struggle with protection this year, as happened in the first game, I guess is there a case to be made that like a Mike Wright at least gives you more escapability or more quarterback run things to try to neutralize that, or is that going too far after one game?
Well, first of all, I would anticipate doing the same. I think we have to get a feel for kind of how the week plays out and what this, how the offense is clicking around the plan. I would anticipate both guys playing. Ken's our starter. Mike would come in. He's earned the right to come in, but he's kind of the counterpunch right now of the two. To your point, I think there's two things that you look at. First of all, we have to shore up our protection. We're better than what we displayed on Saturday, and so we will be better. However, that's not to force the issue either. There are things that you can do to neutralize pass rush, including snap count variance that requires discipline. If you watch Colorado State and South Dakota State play, I thought that South Dakota State did an incredible job managing the snap count, going on multiple claps, and just the discipline up front to hang in there. And what happens defensively when you have a team that's varying the snap count is you can't quite get your pressures timed up. You might have a situation where a defensive end who's a good rusher is rocking back in his stance because he's unsure where the start is. And so, that's something we can do just a little, again, a little more nuanced. And then beyond that, it's about how we quickly make decisions at the quarterback position to get the ball out and in space. And so it's about open field access and where we can eliminate the need to hold on to the ball in the pocket for a long time. Like, let's get it out of our hand and let's get the ball in play and get the play moving. But to your point, I think Mike does add a sense of not escapability so much, but the quarterback run elements that can also help in a situation where we may be struggling to get the passing game going. It's just another element of explosive play that he brings to the table that could be helpful in those situations. So there are a lot of things we can do. There are a lot of things that we're exploring to do, but the most important of which is just having a heightened focus on, again, the fundamental structures and the fundamental techniques that will allow us to protect the passer better.
Talking to Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. Clark, you mentioned also yesterday that Joey Lynch, passing game coordinator, is calling the plays and not offensive coordinator David Wright. So when exactly did you make that decision, and why did you make that decision?
Well, there's a couple of factors for me. We made it after the first week of fall camp, just after the first scrimmage. Joey has extensive experience in calling plays. It's something he's done. He's got a good feel for it, and we wanted to lean on that experience. We felt like it strengthened our operation, and so that was the decision there. But the other thing is, we feel like our receiver group can be really a featured group on our offense. We have potential playmakers in that group, but we have some young ones too, guys like Will Shepard that are really getting their first taste of action. Devin Body's a young guy that we want to come along that we feel like can be a difference maker for us, and obviously we have some veterans there too. But to enable David to give his full attention to that group and to really bring the best out of them, which we're continuing to work on, we thought was important too. So that was the decision, and that was when it happened. And it's been kind of internally, full speed ahead. They still are collaborative. The plan is put together collectively, and David Rye's experience and his fingerprints are all over the offensive design. We just feel like Joey's experience on game day helps us in calling plays.
Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee has been our guest here on Robbie and Rex Road. Clark, appreciate so much you taking time to join us this morning, and good luck against Colorado State coming up on Saturday.
Great to be with you guys. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Clark Lee, Vanderbilt football coach, our guest here on Robbie and Rex Road. We'll come back. We'll react a little bit to what Clark Lee had to say there. Welcome your thoughts as well on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This is Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN 102.5 The Game.